Over the past couple of hundred years, sightings of Nessie, the Loch Ness Monster, have become more and more frequent. But things really took off in the summer of 1933 when they were building a new road along the side of the loch. They were using dynamite to blow away masses of earth and stone, and that created a better uninterrupted view of the loch, so you might expect more people to see something. But there were also theories that those explosions might just have awoken something in the depths of the loch. That summer saw one of the most famous sightings of the monster. A local couple called Mr. and Mrs. Spicer were returning from a trip to London when they suddenly had to stop because they saw coming down the hill and across the road was slithering this monster carrying some sort of animal in its jaws. It made its way across the road, disappeared down over the beach and vanished into the waters of Loch Ness. Since then, there's been a continual rise in interest in the Loch Ness Monster and continued increase in sightings. But there are 265 billion cubic feet of murky water in this loch, so it's very difficult to get definite evidence one way or the other. Well, the boat that I'm on now, the Royal Scot, goes out every day taking tourists out onto the loch. So if anybody ought to know what's beneath the water here, it's these guys. What sightings have you seen yourself?
1986, on the 16th of July, myself and a friend were out here on board a boat called the Caledonian Queen. We spotted a big hump in the water, and as we got closer, we got to roughly about, I would say about, what, 400 or 500 feet away, and it just suddenly vanished. The wash that came off that was about 7 feet in height, 2.2 meters. Tail length of the actual animal was about 22 feet on the surface, about 2.5 feet out of water.
You're out here every day and you're looking down with this machinery, with this equipment that gives you a lot of detail. So what have you seen?
Fish numbers in an area like this should stay pretty constant. They're actually rising. The animals that are in the loch, they're thinking that they're in a captive area. They've got to get more fish into the area for them to in turn multiply. So this is why I'm thinking they're letting the fish stock slowly rise, which in turn will let their numbers rise and possibly secure their future. Most of the scientific communities will tell you that there has to be at least 12 for them to survive this long.
What do you think they are?
Sonar reacts off air pockets. So if it's a warm-blooded animal, we should just be picking up the lungs. Whereas what we're picking up is a full skin contact, and that tells me that there's air running throughout the skin, which in turn puts it into the reptilian category, which in turn makes it cold-blooded. Now, the bottom of Loch Ness sits at 4 degrees centigrade or 38 Fahrenheit year-round. And I can't honestly see a cold-blooded animal surviving in that.
Well, no luck so far, but I do have one other person I can turn to for advice, and that is legendary monster hunter Steve Feltham. Steve, what are you doing here?
For the last 12 years I've been sat here watching and waiting, trying to find whatever's in Loch Ness.
Why?
It's just been an obsession all my life.
Well, I've heard various theories that people might just have seen the wake of a boat or logs floating in the water and so on. Tell me some of the other outrageous suggestions that have been put forward.
There's one guy that believes it's sturgeon. There's other guys that still believe it's plesiosaurs, left over from the Jurassic period. 1 or 2 guys I've met that believe it's creatures from other planets that are living in the loch. You know, we don't know. Whatever the answer is, we don't know what. All we know is that machines like sonar and echo sounders keep picking up contacts with things that are far too big for a normal freshwater loch in Scotland.
What's your big ambition? What's the one thing that would make you feel you'd satisfied everything you wanted?
There's always doubters, but because I've been here so long and haven't cried wolf yet, haven't sort of, if I was going to fake it, I'd have faked it in year 1 or 2, not in year 12. So I think a piece of video film taken by myself would have so much more credibility, and to contribute that to the evidence, I'd be a happy man.
So we're still left with a question. What is lurking beneath the murky waters of Loch Ness? Perhaps it's just a boat wake or a floating log, a fiendish Scottish plot to attract tourists. Or perhaps there is a prehistoric monster still trapped there after the last ice age. Well, not much scientific evidence and still a lot of room for doubt, but you can't help your gaze being drawn to the water just in case something odd breaks the surface. And you're left with an answer to a mystery which has intrigued us for over 1,000 years.
From the mysteries of